Is Paige returning to WWE? TNA shockingly fires Gail Kim, and will Mariah May leave AEW this year for WWE? Welcome everyone to Ring the Bell. This is DS and this is an emergency news and rumor episode. And who do we have for this emergency situation? We got Phil here
in the building. Everybody's favorite guest, I think.
I love that you're embracing the love finally. Yeah, you're embracing it.
I guess.
Someone's gonna comment like, is Phil single? They're commenting for the last 10 videos. But we got some crazy stuff going on. I was busy editing Eva Marie episode, by the way. That episode's like hour long, so I was like busy editing. But damn, like all these news coming out, I was like, I have to do this. And who else will I do this with? Phil, you got so much like knowledge about all the stuff going on, so I'm so happy that you're here. But let's start with the first news. It is Saraya dropping her book and some bombshells. So I got the book. It just arrived. It's looking great. It is Saraya's new book, Hell in Boots. She's doing tons of media right now talking about her book, but as she's doing these media interviews, she's dropping tons of bombs. And I was like, all the interviews that she's doing, she sounds like she's gonna leave AEW. And then she did. This morning, she finally announced on her new podcast, Rule Breakers, that she is indeed departing AEW. It is amicable and mutual departing. But yeah, she is done with AEW. What do you think?
I think she looks great. I was chuckling the other day because I was like, she looks happy. She looks like she's been in good spirits since she's been away. On this book tour, she's been like, you know, giving everybody the looks and everything, like all of the outfits, all of the photo shoots. And I was like, she looks like she's having the time of her life. And so when she announced that she wasn't coming back and that it was amicable, I was like, hopefully that's a good thing. Seems like she's leaving the door open to go back to WWE. The other day, she tweeted out the lyrics for her WWE theme song.
I don't think she's leaving the door open. She's like opening the door and she's like, hi.
Come on in.
Like I said, she tweeted out the theme song and then she did some interview. She's like, I don't care if you call me Paige or Saraya.
Do I prefer people call me Paige or Saraya? Whatever works for me.
Complete opposite of what Mercedes is saying. Mercedes is like, stop f***ing calling me Sasha.
Doesn't bother me when people call me Sasha. Whatever. I wish that people would respect that I am a whole new being.
And then I thought this was like the most, I don't know, damning or like most telling interview that she did. She basically tells the reason why she joined AEW.
Mm-hmm. The idea of going somewhere else was only because, you know, the potential of my brother being there was like a big thing. I just wanted him to be a success in wrestling, you know?
And we did see Zack Knight join AEW too.
Yeah, I mean, initially it seemed like she wanted to go somewhere that was going to let her wrestle a few matches, and WWE wasn't going to clear her to allow her to wrestle. So I think that was part of it too. She could be, you know, being 100% honest. She just wanted to go somewhere where her brother could work as well. But I thought the wrestling aspect was a part of this as well.
But yeah, she's basically leaving a door wide open for a potential WWE return. What do you think? What do you think about the possibility?
I think the door is pretty much open for her to go back to WWE with the way that the AEW stuff went. At the very least, I think this opens the door for her to do something like a Royal Rumble appearance or, you know, do like a match here and there. I don't think she's going to come back as like a full-time wrestler, but I do think this opens the door for her to like make appearances in like one-off matches or something.
WWE's hiring pattern seems like they were hiring a lot of ex-AEW people, almost like, here go another AEW people, we can turn them into stars. Like almost there's like a pattern to that.
It feels like there's been a bit of a pipeline of people coming from AEW and then being repackaged or, you know, presented as a bigger deal in WWE. So I could see it happening. Again, I don't know in what capacity. Maybe she'll show up and, you know, be a part of something. Like, I personally enjoyed her as a general manager. I think her as an on-screen character, I enjoyed it. So I wouldn't be mad at her coming back and doing something on screen.
I want her to come back. Just like how she first arrived in WWE, I want her to come back, maybe take Chelsea's title away from her, like with the surprise return. I think that would be so amazing. I mean, bad for Chelsea, but I think it's going to be amazing. I think she's going to like it. I think she's going to like it because of the iconicness of that. Interesting thing that she mentioned, and I actually tweeted about this too. One thing that she kind of wished that happened was the opportunity to work with Mercedes Moné. Because there's that history, a lot of people, at least I was, at least wanting to see that feud in AEW. And she said, we were just waiting for that trigger to be pulled, but I think she just has other people that she has to wrestle for right now. So she's saying that both Mercedes and her, she really wanted this feud to happen, but I guess just things didn't work out.
Yeah, at one point it seemed like they were teasing it pretty heavily. She talked about it in a few interviews when Mercedes showed up at All In London. She was in a crowd when Saraya won the championship. And so I thought that was going to be one of the big feuds that they did with her when she initially came in, especially with, the backstory of, her getting the chance to wrestle again. And she said the first person she contacted when she was cleared was Mercedes. So I'm a bit surprised that they didn't do it either.
I was surprised about that. So I tweeted about it, and then people are like, nobody wants to fucking see it. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, I want to see it. There was like, no, thank God that never happened. Whatever. I wanted to see it. I thought it was going to be great. I wanted to see Mercedes be like, I'm going to retire you again. Just like, that would have been so great.
Yeah.
That's going to be great.
The internet moves on fast, man. It felt like people wanted that match at one point, and now people are just like, nobody ever wanted that match, which is not true, because there were definitely people that wanted that match at one point.
Now, moving to another shocking news. Wow, this shocked me a lot. TNA has fired Gail Kim. So if you guys know, Gail Kim has been working behind the scenes in TNA. She's been doing talent relations, as far as I know, but she was also basically the backbone of the Knockouts division. From what I know, she also recently got a promotion to more of a management position. So this firing kind of came out of nowhere. This just happened yesterday. Apparently, TNA management sent out emails to all the people announcing this big firing, and obviously this was met with shocks, disbelief, and anger. It was a unanimously unpopular move based on all the people that Fightful has spoke to. At least one talent said it made the decision for them to not remain in the company when the deal is up. Yeah, what was your initial reaction to this news?
I was shocked by this. I mean, Gail has been such a big part of TNA for so long, whether being as a wrestler or working behind the scenes. I was very confused by this, and the more I've read about it, I'm even more confused as to what was the cause of this, especially where TNA is right now. They just started this rebrand, changing the name back to TNA, and then like immediately Scott D'Amore was gone, and then there was a lot of other upheaval backstage, and now this is just kind of strange. Like, I don't know what to make of any of this.
The timeline of the whole situation is so interesting because last year was when they first announced a change to TNA from Impact Wrestling, and then quickly after the change in February, so just like more than a year ago, Anthem terminated the contract of Scott D'Amore, the TNA president then. Last month, they announced that the president that they replaced Scott D'Amore with is again replaced with this another president from Anthem. Just a month later, Gail Kim and a couple of the other big names in the management is now gone. But it is interesting to think about the reason behind it, because according to Fightful, at least one person said they weren't really surprised about this move because Gail Kim has been very outspoken creatively and would sometimes butt heads with people in control. Another person indicated that that's what you want out of a person that's in her position. Someone who will advocate for a better show. And Fightful was told that Gail Kim was very direct about her complaints when she felt like things could have been handled better or more professionally.
That fits everything we know about Gail Kim publicly, that she is going to speak up when she believes something. And I mean, that was part of some of the stuff with WWE as well, that, she, was very outspoken. So I'm not surprised by that at all. I feel like if you have Gail Kim on your staff, I feel like you know what you're getting into. For that to be a thing now after all this time, again, I just don't quite understand what was the breakdown here.
I mean, we know Gail. I mean, obviously we all remember when she slid out of that bottom rope to get out of WWE. That was so iconic because you know what? She was like, this is not the way I should be treated. Like, she was having legendary feud with Awesome Kong. She was brought into WWE just to do like diva 2-minute matches. So she said, I'm gone. Like, I'm leaving. So she left. So we know Gail Kim. And, let's be honest. I'm actually really glad to know that Gail Kim has been very vocal about creative. Creative for TNA has been absolutely terrible. Like, when we think about TNA's Knockouts division, like, for the longest time, I was like, TNA's Knockouts division is one of the best. I still remember like early 2020s, like from Mickie James, Deonna Purrazzo, Jordan Grace. That division was so strong. I was saying like the division was as strong as WWE's division. Maybe like star power was different, obviously, but like the booking and wrestling was top tier quality. At a certain point, they stopped giving Knockouts storylines, and they were just keep bringing NXT talents to feud with their champions without really making their own stars. And then they were like, oh, I guess we don't have a star, so let's bring in Tessa Blanchard. Another big decision that like angered a lot of people. So it just seems like they're really, really lost.
Definitely not a good sign for TNA moving forward. Definitely not a good sign for the Knockouts division. Gail is somebody that I think still has a lot to contribute to wrestling, so hopefully she lands somewhere. I'm not quite sure where. It's kind of hard for me to think she would end up in WWE after everything.
Right.
But I mean, I think she could work over there. Obviously, AEW could use her as well. Somebody backstage vouching for the women and really pushing for more for the women on creative. I don't know. I've seen people say all kinds of things, but it's just still like so shocking to see that this is how her time with TNA is ending.
And then all the knockouts are speaking out about it. Like, you don't see a lot of wrestlers speaking up against the management's decisions like this. Like, they were pissed. And Fightful also mentioned that sources in AEW and WWE both said they expected Gail Kim to get interest across the wrestling world. And a few said they were going to immediately push for such. So, she might be getting a lot of calls right now. And also noting that there is no non-compete. But TNA as a whole has been making such weird moves after moves. I like, obviously there's been good moves like the whole collaboration with NXT, but I really don't want TNA to be like lower tier NXT or like Evolve. I don't think that's really good for the industry. Like, TNA being there with the Knockouts division always like brought so much energy into women's wrestling. So, all right, but let's move to another very juicy news, because Mariah May, it's all about Mariah. Mariah May has skyrocketed in AEW women's division. She was world champion for a while, but she apparently is in a contract year. Her contract will be up this year. Specifically, those that Fightful has spoken to believe that her contract will be up this summer. And obviously, AEW is looking to retain her because, she just had one of the greatest women's storyline ever, I'll say.
I mean, obviously, like you said, AEW's got to retain her at this point. I don't see how you let her leave after the work that you did in her first year to build her up and put her in a main storyline. I don't see how you let her leave. But also, if you're WWE, what a steal if you could get her right now after all the attention that's been on her for the past year or so. You could bring her in straight away and already have such a great cachet to work with. Obviously, it's up to her. I don't know what, her decision is at this point. I've seen people already online bringing up all of her old tweets of her being a fan of WWE, which I'm not sure why people are surprised about. Like, if you followed Mariah May for a long time, you knew she was a WWE fan.
Not only she was a WWE fan, she was a WWE shop like influencer. Yes. She was a WWE shop girl. So she was like the model for WWE shop merches. And we all know that she was a Trish Stratus girly. She's a Stratospherean, time to rock and roll. She obviously does Stratosphere, if you noticed that. She is a diva stan. Yes. And you also, like, if you watch her, you know that she does like Marie's like French DDT and stuff like that. She is a diva stan. And also, like, she joined Ring the Bell to review, like, I think it was like Money in the Bank or something like that. She's been on Ring the Bell before as a guest. There is that past that is all like excavated right now, and people are like, what? She's a WWE fan? It's really interesting.
Yeah, I didn't understand it when I saw some of these tweets coming up. I was like, this isn't really new, guys. How long have you been following her?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a very pivotal year for Mariah because, like you said, like, I don't think anyone has been booked this good in AEW. Like, the moment she joined AEW, she came with the storyline that Tony Khan himself was very invested in. Like, he was very proud of that storyline that he himself and RJ City has, like, written together, it seems like. I think Tony Khan will do his best to keep Mariah around, but it's going to be an interesting time. On a side note, by the way, I want AEW's women's division to be healthy and do well. I think it's never healthy for like one company to monopolize the entire industry, just in general. I'm always rooting for all the women's wrestlers across the board, and like I think AEW women's division has been really, really strong. I'm not saying either Mariah should stay with AEW or not, but I really want AEW's women's division to continue to grow, because what she did with Toni Storm was really special.
Yeah, I agree. Parity is good all around for the industry. So, I want this division to do well. And that's the same that we were talking about with TNA. I want TNA to do well, and I want STARDOM to continue to do well, and all these other companies, so that there are places for the women to wrestle and there's alternatives. Again, I don't know. This is, of course, Mariah's choice and whatever she wants to do, supportive of her. Like, I think like what this has done for her for the past year or so, I would say she's had the best rookie year out of anybody in AEW. And she has so much to work with. Like the sky's the limit for her now. She can make whatever decision she wants out of this.
I've been thinking about it this week, especially because, WWE just announced that they're doing club parties every night. And I'm like, bitch, bitch, what about Diva Mania? Like, WWE is gonna take over everything, monopolize a hall every night in Las Vegas. I'm like, well, this. So I think healthy competition is great. Maybe that's why I didn't get credential this year. I don't know. We'll see. I'm being really petty right now. But let's go to some good news for AEW at the end, because Mina Shirakawa, the Stardom's Mina Shirakawa, obviously she's been frequent on AEW with the storyline, especially with Mariah May and Toni Storm. She just announced through Stardom that she will be leaving Stardom and joining AEW. So her last days with Stardom will be first week of April, but she will still do her Stardom shows that's booked for Mania weekend.
I don't think you should be much surprised if you've listened to Mina talk and do interviews. She's been saying for a while that she wants to wrestle in the US. And so I figured once she got a chance, she was going to end up at one of the companies in America. And AEW makes so much sense because she's been on AEW programming so often. She already has like the fan base behind her. And I mean, starting the year with the big match with Mercedes at Tokyo Dome, she's got so much to play off of from there. So I'm not that surprised. And Stardom, not for nothing, hadn't been booking her great recently. I think that when she has shown up on AEW, she's felt like a bigger deal than she did over there. I still didn't like the way they booked her with the white belt. I still didn't understand that they put the belt on her and then immediately put her in that match with Tam and she dropped the belt immediately. I didn't get why they did that. And then she never got a rematch. She never came back and won the belt again. So I'm not that shocked by this. And I don't think most people observing it should be shocked.
But also, is it Mercedes Moné, the Star Maker, striking again?
It kind of feels like it, because it feels like at this point she kind of has the Midas touch of everybody that she's been linked to. They end up getting a deal or getting signed somewhere. Now, I mean, of course, to be fair, Mina had already been making the appearances over there, and the match with Tony and then the match with Mariah helped. But I think part of this is Mercedes, to say the least. I would have to assume if you're AEW after that match at the Dome, you had to have been thinking like, let's make the move. Let's sign her as quickly as possible. We don't want another Stephanie Vaquer situation where she ends up getting snatched up by WWE.
But that is it for the emergency news and rumor episode. Thank you so much, Phil, for joining in so last minute. Thank you.
Of course. Thanks for having me, as always.
And guys, Diva Mania is still happening. I know that WWE announced their own club parties, but it's looking pretty straight. You know what I'm talking about? Like, this is for the girlies. This is for the gays. This is for the women's wrestling fans. You know what? It's going to be a great opportunity to celebrate with Gail, or celebrate Gail herself. So we'll see how that goes. But also, outside of the announced wrestlers, there are a couple more special guests that told me that they're going to join in. So it's going to be a huge party. So join in. The ticket information is right here. Again, Las Vegas WrestleMania is looking very expensive. WWE is trying to make some coin that weekend. So I made sure it's super accessible. But Phil, where can we all find you?
You can find me on Twitter at PhilDL616. You can also find me every Saturday at noon hosting Grapsody, my homie Righteous Reg.
You can find me at DSN on Instagram and Ring the Bell DS on Twitter. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye!